Welcome. I'm Jacquie Molloy from Meaningful Aging Australia. As we begin
Alright.
today's session, as always, let's start with our acknowledgement of country. And as I do, you can also acknowledge the lands you're joining us from today in the chat. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and pay our respects to elders past and present. We recognise their continuing connection to land and waters and the animals who live there, and to community. We honour the enduring strength and spiritual resilience of First Nations peoples. Today, exciting news, we have part one of a new conversation series, The Shadow of Aging, Making Friends with Time. And my partner in crime, Kim Thoday, is back with us. I think most of you know Kim, but if you are new here, then let me tell you that Kim is a serving chaplain with the RAAF and was a police chaplain for over 10 years. He also has over 25 years experience as a residential care chaplain. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you, Jackie. Great to be here. Thank you very much. And hello to everyone all around Australia. I presume it's limited to Australia. There might be somebody from
Who knows?
outside. Who
Who
knows?
knows? Marnie will know. Um, Okay, so what we're going to do today, we thought we'd sort of create a little bit of compartment. So today we thought we'd tackle the first part of our topic, which is the shadow of aging. And Kim and I have been having a little bit of a chat offline about this. Um, but one of the things that could characterize this chapter for us is that it's a period of finding questions, asking questions, and answering questions. That it's a real time in our life when we have to dig a little deeper because the questions have come to us to answer. Kim, what do you think about some of the questions that we face at this time?
Thank you, Jackie. Yeah, well, I think that it's a situation whereby these things emerge, sometimes suddenly, and sometimes finding the questions is a bit of an exploration as well. Sometimes I think they emerge and surprise us suddenly. I often think they're things that actually um, kind of accumulate and gradually come to the surface more. So, but I think, look, I think for me personally, you can't avoid the personal reflection
Mm.
here a little bit. It's a question that has come to my mind is that more recently is that yeah, I realize now that life is different for me. I wonder why that is. And there's another very confronting question, I think, for people that I'm often working with, but I recognize it in myself more now. But it's probably been there for a while. I don't know that I've been listening to some of this inner stuff. But one of the other ones would be, gee, there are things that I can't do anymore. Maybe that's putting it a bit strongly, or might be that I can't do them as well. Maybe I'm thinking there are some things I don't want to do anymore, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And then, with all of that, there is, and we mightn't articulate it this way, but what does that mean? What does that mean for me, for who I am, for people who know me? What does that mean in terms of, having a job or not? In the future, or it has you thinking about, well, maybe I need to, maybe it's time for me to do something else. So there we go. There's
And
a brief
and
intro to my world of
and
questions.
I think the question about job is so important because often so much of our identity comes from what we do. And so if we don't have a job anymore, if we've retired from that,
Yeah.
then one of the questions could be, who am I? Who am I now? Who am I now
Mm,
if I don't have that?
yeah.
And that can be, I mean, speaking for myself, that can be very confronting to not realize how much of your identity has been wrapped up in what you do.
Yeah.
So when that's
Yeah.
not there, who am I
In,
now?
indeed. Yeah. So, that is the way that we have, historically constructed our world and our lives. It's about very much what we do. We've almost changed the English language on that to human doings, whereas we know in
Mm.
deep, more deeply, linguistics tells us there's some wisdom in the language, isn't there, of human beings, that actually there is something more important there. Yeah, we're partly human doings, but we're actually human beings.
Human beings that shed skin.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
think that's another part of our journey is
Indeed.
that
Speak.
we shed parts of us as we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. That's right. And maybe somebody just needs to turn their microphone
I think I've
off.
done that.
So I
Mm.
got a little distracted then because I lost you for a moment. Anyway,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
yeah.
So I like there's one particular talking about shadows and so on. So there's one particular Jungian therapist who I like a great deal, Connie Zweig. Some may know of her or have read of her work. So she has come up with this really lovely little concept, which is easy to remember, that um, shadow work, she says, the doing of shadow work. So looking at
Mm.
the shadow side of ourselves, or as you have put it in our title, the shadow of aging, is she refers to this kind of chaplaincy work or spiritual care work or attending to our shadow side as moving from role to soul.
Perfect.
I like that. I think that kind of sums up what we're saying here in a way, Jacquie, that there is so much emphasis in our younger years, especially to our, midlife years, about our role in society, our role in our families, our
Mm.
role in our spiritual communities or whatever it might be. However, we have constructed our narrative, and she's saying that soul work, the work of spiritual care, in many ways, is it's not it's not denying the importance of that kind of identity, but it is recognizing that now actually there can be some new opportunities as we age to look at the more underlying questions about who we really are.
Yeah.
What is the nature of our being really? And that can be quite an individual thing, but it might actually share the same, similar contours of landscape with other people as well. And I think it's using some old-fashioned language. That's what we mean by a person's soul. I think moving from role
Mm.
to soul.
I love that. And I think too, it's interesting that this kind of work that we're talking about doesn't doesn't negate what we say about positive aging. One of the things that we say about positive aging is that it's important to stay busy.
Hmm.
But busy can be busy doing the work as well. It doesn't
Yes.
necessarily mean busy with all of the doing and the doing and the doing, but time for reflection as well, time for an understanding of who we are at this moment
Yeah.
And particularly in the face of fear and anxiety around sickness and what might happen to us as we age.
Mm.
I think it's really easy to get caught up. You see those retirement pictures of the couple in their 60s walking hand in hand along the beach, looking perfectly coiffed, and life is a dream. And I think, it's important to note that that's not everyone's reality, that this time of life can come with quite a lot of fear and uncertainty and anxiety.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. And I think, even for people who are at earlier stages of life, I think, there's a great deal of wisdom in taking taking time, and we'll talk more about this, in future sessions about making friends with time. Actually, can be one of the ways of thinking about this is that it is good to pause and to have quality time. We use that kind of language now and again to be mindful, to become more mindful of the things that are actually going on in the unconscious world. When we are super busy and when we are at those earlier phases of life, uh, if we're able to, yeah, if we are able to kind of do that um, uh, from now on, wherever
Mm,
we are, then I think we are less likely to get the sudden shocks and to be, suddenly confronted with a great deal of trauma when somehow the wheels fall off in one way or another. Um,
yeah.
um, yeah, I think I was thinking the other day. I think it's an example would be that. Yeah, I know what it was now. When this happens every so often, and I'm sure um, it'll have happened to most of our listeners. I'm sure so. Um, you're driving along, and you get a call come in if you've got hands free like I have. Okay, um, and all of a sudden, this happened to me the other day, and I know I had about 30 minutes drive left in front of me. Okay. And the kind of conversation that took place was one that absolutely took my full attention, like it had to. I had to give myself uh, to this particular person and the conversation. And anyway, to cut a story short there a bit, I get home and after kind of just debriefing myself a little bit from that uh, conversation, I was shocked because I could not remember, I really could not remember at all that 30-minute drive and the stoplights that I'm normally kind of checking out and the particular turns I'm making and all of the things that I'm going past and all of the other traffic. Like this had to be one of the worst case scenarios. I've had that phenomenon happen before, but not
Yeah.
like this where and I did a little experiment on myself, really trying to, and I thought, no, I was so caught up in this conversation. It didn't mean that I was obviously on autopilot, otherwise I would have had a crash or something or other. I'm sure I was
Yeah.
perfectly safe. But it's a little reminder for me, I think, about how actually I've got to I've got to confess that I've actually, it's a bit of a metaphor for me that often that's how I've lived my life, Jackie.
Mm,
And I haven't really, I've been unconscious to sometimes what's the really important things uh, inside of me. And I think when if we develop a life that becomes really unconscious, of the inner world, then we are at risk. We're very much at risk, just like I was on the road to some degree, I think, in that
Yeah.
way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, at some point you have to face what's going on inside of you.
Hmm.
Those questions that we talked about at the beginning, they're going to come up if we don't proactively try to find them.
Yeah.
Um, I'm thinking too, when you say that it's a bit of a metaphor for you, I think you're right. I think just about everybody on the call today will have have had the same experience or something similar. Um, and it is a deep reflection of our society that we go along with that becomes a normal way to live. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know, Jackie, can I just say something to
Yeah.
you too? I was thinking about shadows. I told you it's
Yeah.
your metaphor of the shadow, this Jungian notion has really stuck with me. And I hadn't thought about this for ages, but when I was when I was a kid, like I'm thinking, somewhere between around about five, maybe 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that'd be right. That developmentally, that would be about right. 4, 5, 6. There, I used to try and jump on a sunny day, jump away from my shadow, and I couldn't. And it used to maybe I'm just yeah. Look, I'm weird, right? My parents would tell me that they'd have to, whisk me inside to get me away from my shadow because I was becoming so obsessed, and I'd end up screaming and crying, right? But again, the reminder, I thought, that's we could unpack that a bit on another day. That might say something about who I am. I'm not sure, but for me, it's the reality, though, of this world. We cannot escape it.
Yeah.
We can't escape the shadow of aging. I just wanted to throw that one in.
No, you're right. We bump up against it at some point. Um,
Oh, yes.
you've just reminded me though, I think I used to be low-key obsessed with my shadow as well. I can remember um the discovery of what a shadow is really
Yeah,
quite
yeah, yeah.
something, isn't it?
It was at the same time I was digging for the devil, but I shouldn't be saying things like that. I did. My parents reminded me that years later I used to dig for the devil. I don't know what the heck I would have happened if I'd found it. I think, yeah, I was sure if I dug down far enough, I'd find the devil. Anyway, it was that era of my life. Sorry, I digress.
I love it. Love it. Oh dear.
Um,
Um,
do you want me to keep going?
I do.
All right. Well, yeah, if I can just go back perhaps for a moment to Connie Zweig, she talks also about the movement from hero to wise elder
Ah,
in
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
If we get that right from role to soul, it is kind of also the movement of being what she means by hero is moving from egocentrism really. It's all
Yeah.
about me
Yeah.
to actually a more whole, not self-denial, but escaping the obsession with self
Yes.
to the
Yeah.
recognition that actually we're part of something bigger. And I love that. So yeah, if people haven't heard of this particular therapist, her name is Connie and Zweig, Zweig. EIJ, offers some really interesting insights into conscious aging and shadow work. Yeah.
Yeah, fascinating.
Mm.
Really fascinating. Um, I did want to ask you about what to do. So we know that people of faith have particular beliefs about what happens when we die.
Yeah.
But what do we do with the feeling if the belief is that it's oblivion?
Ah,
You know,
yeah.
we're walking that path of aging towards oblivion. What do we do
Mm.
with that?
Well, first of all, well, I suppose if it happens to me as it did not long ago, where I had somebody actually say to me that they were convinced actually that yeah, and they weren't too far away from dying actually. So this particular person was somebody that I got to know very well, and this is in an aged care context, and um, they used that expression for the first time, and it was an expression I don't come across very often.
Mm,
A person talking about their own life and saying, and at the time when he it was a male when he first um, mentioned that to me, there was a fair amount of doom and gloom really that came with it. Um, and I think I was also a bit shocked because he was somebody who had been a person of faith, and look, may still have been, and I think to some, yeah, I think to some degree, well, he was deeply spiritual anyway, all the way through. But he had become convinced that the end of his life would be oblivion or non-existence, and
mm,
I think they mean pretty much the same thing.
yeah.
Uh, I think in that setting, the most important thing for me to do was just to listen and listen really deeply. It doesn't mean a passive thing, my listening, but rather quite an active role of solidarity and friendship and beginning to try to move from empathy to interpathy to kind of really get into that person's world and understand. Um, if it was me, if it's a question you're posing to me about what would I do with that, that's probably, yeah, my answer would be a little bit different. I think I'd have to say that there are times that that notion has worried me in my life. Yeah,
Mm,
and still does sometimes because for me there is a sense of some kind of non-existence involved. Uh,
yeah.
you know, because the existence that I have now, the existence that I know now, uh, when I die, that existence is going to be it's going to be very different. But whether I want to go far as um, yeah, something stops me about oblivion. I just don't even think I like the sound of the word. I think
I know
I
it's very
it
confronting, isn't
it
it?
is extremely confronting. But then there's also my beliefs. I'm a, you know, for me the figure of Jesus of Nazareth is still, uh, powerfully intertwined in my expression of faith and all of those things. And so I take all of that very, very seriously myself. But I'm the kind of person that's very open to other spiritual views as well, and I've been influenced by them too. It's not just an
Yeah.
academic
Yeah.
exercise. But
Yeah.
there's a bit of self-disclosure here. There has to be when you're asking these kind of questions, I think.
Mm.
Um, so my own sense of discipleship and those kinds of things and matters of faith are still really strong. But at the same time, I share something of the humanity of my friend, who I'm talking to you about, who right up until the last, you know, expressed to me that he had finally come to terms with his oblivion.
Mm.
Yeah,
Wow.
uh, I could say more, but yeah.
I'm just going to look at the chat because I've just seen a couple of things come through. So I just want to, um, can Kim unpack what he means by from empathy to interpathy?
Interpathy. Oh, sorry. Yes, of
Mm.
course. And I shouldn't have
Mm.
just skipped over that. Um, okay, I don't want to try and give you a definitive answer here, but I'll try and be as concise as I can. So I would say just off the top that empathy, I would imagine, most people have got a pretty good understanding of what empathy is, but for me, empathy is really about a deep, a deep dive into understanding um, the situation of another. Um, we talk about empathizing, don't we? We talk about empathizing with a person to really feel quite deeply um, the suffering, maybe the suffering of another person, having that kind of understanding. Interpathy is that movement beyond, and you'll see the literature. If you've never looked, I think if you just punch that into Google, you would suddenly see there's a whole lot of good stuff about all of this. But interpathy is that move beyond to be able to meet somebody um, halfway, as it were, in the um, the space in between. Uh, so, if you like, um, from I think a spiritual point of view, it is the work that the undertaking and work required um, to be able to meet the soul of another person. So, to use some old language, I think it's you know, one soul meeting the soul of another,
Mm.
and that kind of movement is a move where you need to be able to put your assumptions on hold. Um, it is not just understanding anymore. It is a movement to be able to begin to appreciate um, what the other person. It's like even beyond appreciating. It's the living something of the experience of that other person. So that means to be able to, bring an understanding there of the particular culture that they're coming from, the particular worldview that they might have, and actually spending uh, time with a person, deeply listening and feeling, getting to the point of actually feeling what they are dealing
Mm.
with and going with. Yeah, that's where I think that's where the best um, shadow work happens, to use that kind of language.
Yeah.
Um, because I think I love, say, John John Swinton's. Yeah, maybe I'll bring John Swinton in here and just say he would use the language to describe this as I've got it written down here somewhere. I just wrote it down before, so I would not forget. And now it's disappeared on me. I'll come. Oh, yes, of course. Relational unconscious. Starting in relational consciousness, having a relational consciousness. In fact, Swinton um, says this is the genius of chaplaincy. When chaplaincy is done really well, or and we might call this now, you know, the work of the spiritual practitioner,
Yeah.
the spiritual support person. When that work is being done really well, it is in that interpathic space. It's in the space of the relational consciousness. Yeah.
Yeah. That's starting to that's starting to clarify for me. I hope others feel that as well.
Um, yeah. So it's to say that um, we move from we move away from the personal insights or the personal epiphanies to a recognition that actually we go far deeper with our epiphanies and our insights if they are relational.
Mm.
So it is to, again, to use some older kind of language, to some extent our conversion happens through the other. It's not just something that,
Yeah.
it's not just something that's ours.
It's funny you say conversion because as you were talking, I was thinking there's something kind of alchemical about this, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. Yes,
the
yes, yeah,
bringing together of
yeah.
the two. Yeah.
Um, yes. So it's a transformation, perhaps even better than conversion. Um,
Mm. Oh, that's great.
I think there's a
Um,
few more questions coming here by the look of it.
there are, and we're running over time. Um, so I'm just wondering whether I can keep these questions for next time
Absolutely.
because
Yeah, yeah.
I'm hoping very much that everyone that's here today will be turning up to the next session, which will be on Thursday, the 9th of April. And I think Marnie's going to pop that in the chat. Yes, she's already put it in the chat there, part two. So please register for that. Remember, there's three parts to our conversation: the shadow of aging, making friends with time. So, um, yes, next week what we'll do is we'll have a little time for question and answer as well before the end of the session. But we just wanted to really get in today to get some of the meat on the bone. Kim, it's been wonderful to have you here, as always.
Oh, thank you, Jackie. I think you're the one that brings the stuff out, brings the good stuff out. So yes, you kind of pull the right strings and ask the right questions and so on. Yeah, yeah, it's great.
Oh, very kind. Very kind. All right, everybody. Well, lovely to see you all here today. Look forward to seeing you next month for the next part of The Shadow of Aging, Making Friends with Time. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.